Hi, I'm Calvin Morris from Elite Care Services, and this is Elite Care Conversations. Thank you for taking the time to show an interest in the interview processes for Elite Care Services and what we are trying to achieve. That is quite simple. All that we're trying to do is to make sure that the awareness and the stigma around the bad part of care, as it is seen via the media, is squashed, and that we can deliver good quality content, good interviews and great information from the people who work on the front line of the care industry in the care homes and nursing homes. I hope that you enjoy this podcast. So welcome back to Elite Care Conversations with me, Calvin Morris. I have another very, very special guest with me. We've just been having a chat about his amazing set of care homes, which is Vida Healthcare. Welcome, James, to the podcast, and thank you for taking some time out of your very important day. I'm sure you're very busy on a Monday. And how is everything where you are? Is everything all right?
Yeah, everything's great. Thanks for having me on this. It's a real pleasure to have a good chat on a Monday morning. So yeah, everything's great. Nice weather, and the care homes are operating nicely after the past couple of years, which have been slightly tumultuous. That's the right word to use throughout the pandemic, but we finally made it, and they are. I hate to say it, those green shoots are now beginning.
No, it's really good. We were talking just before we got started, and you've got three incredible care homes. Even if we can call them care homes, they're care villages in a way. And I think it's incredible what you've done. All of your homes have outstanding CQC reports that are very recent as well. So if we could just dive in a little bit, really, can you just tell us all about Vida Healthcare and your ethics? You said that it's a family business as well, and just tell us a bit about your journey and about yourself.
So, yeah, my father, Chris, and I started Vida Healthcare in 2010, and the reason why we started it is because we were previously in social care and had a care home, but we sold that before the financial crisis, and then spent the next 2 or 3 years just kind of establishing and thinking about who and what we might do next. And we saw a niche market. Well, dementia care is something that we were very passionate about, and it's something that I wanted to specialize in, because there isn't a service in our area, or I don't know if there is nationally actually, that solely delivers care to people living with dementia. So what we decided to do was build buildings that are bespoke to people's needs, because there's a lot that you can do through architectural design and interior design to enhance the lives of people that are living with dementia. And we've picked up on all sorts of sort of design traits that we know have a direct impact. And what we try and do is create environments that reduce anxiety and create a safe haven and a stimulating and sensory enhancing space for people, so that we can give them the best life that they can have at that stage with their dementia.
I mean, it's really incredible. You were saying that the size of the homes are 64 to 68,000 square feet. And that's to put that into comparison, a large 4-bedroom home is maybe 2,000 to 3,000 square feet if you're lucky. So just to put it on the scale of a normal house compared to what you guys have achieved is incredible. And you were saying between the three homes, so Vida, Hall, Grange, and Court, you said one of them is 70 beds, one's 124, and one was 100, if I'm correct.
That's correct. Yeah.
And then could you just dive into a little bit about how they're broken up into the houses? Because I think that's really important, and that's why your services are so unique.
Yeah, so they are really large buildings, but they're broken down into small houses that range between sort of 10 to a maximum 20 bed house. Essentially, they're all decorated in a very similar way, and I mean decorated down to the similar flooring and artwork and paint colors. They're all effectively self-sufficient houses, so independent of each other. and they all have similar design traits. So they all have a continuous walkway, and that allows people to walk without interruption. And then along those sort of walkways, you put your bedrooms and your destination, so lounges and communal spaces and bars or whatever you feel, or what we have. So we have cinemas, we have all sorts of. We have a sweetie shop in this particular building I'm in, a coffee shop, hair salons, and we try and create areas of interest to keep people stimulated, but also to create areas that allow people to be as private or as social as they wish to be. Because you forget that when people move into a care home, they go from effectively independent living throughout their whole life into a communal setting, and that's not easy for people to transfer to. So we respect that, and we try and create different options for residents. And the second part of this is the reason why we have these individual houses is each house focuses on a particular stage of someone's dementia. And as their care needs change, it can move relatively seamlessly throughout the homes to an area that is more suitable for them in terms of the demographic of the other residents, but also the skill set of the staff. So it's a rather seamless change, as I say, because it's a very familiar surrounding that they're moving into. But as I say, there are like-minded people at a similar stage of their dementia in those houses.
Yeah, I'm just taking in what you're saying. It's incredible what you've achieved. So you said that you built all of the homes from scratch. They're custom built buildings. And we're talking 13 years, and you built 3.
Yeah, over that period of time, that's been a rather emotional journey. We've built 180,000 square foot over that period of time. And each time I do one, I always say, that's it, I'm not doing another one, because it's a big deal. It's
Oh yeah, you make me smile because you sound a bit like me with my ventures from time to time.
It's a process, isn't it?
Of course.
And
So
you got to.
how long did it take from the first home, from the idea, if you like, or the incorporation of the business to actually getting open and getting your first
First residents
users through?
So we found our first piece of land in 2010, and then literally from scratch, it took 3 years until we opened the doors to the first home, which was Vida Hall. It's a long process to go through planning, and then the build is for that particular building was 18 months, and then you've got the fit out. So it does take time, especially dealing with the planning process, which is sometimes difficult. Certainly is up here. I don't know what it's like down in Portsmouth, but it is.
I think within the UK we can say it's not a walk in the park.
Yeah, it can be an emotional journey. So yeah, and the second one that we did, we started that in 2014 and opened it in 2016, as that took 2 years. I may actually be slightly ahead of myself there. It took 3. Basically, from finding the land to opening, it takes about 3 years. So the last one that we've done at Vida Court, which is opened in 2021. Yeah, so we started that in 2019, and that's the final one now. So we have a full contingency of staff, and Vida Court is now 2 of the Vida Grange and Vida Hall are all full. And as operators out there will know, it takes time. You do it very slowly to fill up the homes. So we've opened up 70% of Vida Court, and of course the pandemic's been difficult because in terms of building up your occupancy, it was a stop-start situation because we kept having to close the doors if there was an outbreak throughout the pandemic, and it's very difficult to admit. So it's been a very staggered, long process for this particular home that we're in, but we're now getting there. All the restrictions have now really reduced now to somewhere we can operate quite effectively. It's still there though. It's still out there is COVID, but it's much more manageable.
Yes, no, I agree. Which is all the better for all of us, of course.
Sure.
So, what's the average age of people that come to one of your homes? Do you have facilities for younger people as well, or is it mainly, elderly? What's the typical age group of people?
In the main, it's people that are over 65, and that's what would be classed in terms of social care as older people. Although I'm sure people at 65 wouldn't consider themselves old. In fact, even 75. But realistically, I would say our main demographic is between sort of 75 and 95. Um, but sadly, we do have two houses that are for younger adults, and that's come about because there's sadly a demand for that service. And what we wanted to do was provide a service for people that are younger, living with dementia. But the alternative is for people to be placed into a, older people category and live with people that might be between 75 and 95, or, that older generation. And that's sometimes not, it's not right for people that are younger. And it's not comfortable, especially as I said earlier, going from an independent living situation to a communal setting. So we try and create an environment that's a bit more appropriate, a bit more age specific for those people, and that has proved to be, I say the word sadly because it is, a very popular service.
Mhm.
And what sparked us on was at the time there was a resident that wasn't with us, but I knew of him, and he was about 40 years old and had to relocate to Birmingham, which is 150 odd miles away from where we are, because that was the only service available. So that's why we, you know, developed these two services for those people that are younger, not only younger, but younger mindset as well, because of course some people that are over 65 or 70, for example, do have younger outlooks in life and therefore would like to be in an environment with younger people. So that's also, it's not specifically for people that are under 65, it's for that mindset of people as well, which has worked really well for us.
As I said to you, it's very sobering for me. I'm 41 this year, and to understand, or just to speak to somebody in your position where you mentioned about somebody as young as 40 having dementia,
Mm.
and it's a scary thought. Can you just touch a little bit more? You talked about really matching people in the environment and making sure that similar people are within each of the houses within the homes. Can you just touch on that, because I think that's sort of really important and probably something that's overlooked in some cases in the care sector.
Well, as people's needs change, unfortunately, it is a progressive disease, dementia. Whatever type of dementia you have, it is progressive, and therefore the way that you present as an individual will change as you progress, and therefore you may, present with more complex behaviours, and therefore it's important to, um, put to place someone to live in an environment that is more suitable for them in terms of layout, in terms of skill set of staff, and in terms of other residents that perhaps don't become affected by someone's complex behavioral presentations, if that sounds
Yeah.
right. And the other thing as well is that obviously what's massively important for us is the families and the loved ones of those residents. It's very difficult for someone that has, for example, early stages of a dementia, um, uh, to be in with other people that might be more advanced, and therefore the families are not used to seeing that as well. So when they visit, it's more difficult. These are realities that we have to deal with, and that's not to say that it's a very difficult dynamic, but we have to be very honest with everyone and try and create the most comfortable environments and try and promote people to visit as much as possible, because the families and loved ones are so integral to care, actually, to how we look after people and to normalize everything and to create a homely environment. So we feel that, for all those reasons, that's how we kind of put people into those communities that are suitable and don't heighten or add to people's uh, presentations. We try and create the most calming and appropriate environment is the right word, if you understand what I mean.
Of course, yeah. No, it's again, it's just, this is all testament to your outstanding reports on all of your homes. It's
I think one of the major things that's massive. In fact, we they really are the heartbeat of the whole business. We're very lucky to have been able to design and build these buildings, which are, really good looking. We try and change the perceptions of what care homes are seen as in general out there, and people come and say, oh, they look like apartment blocks, etc. And they're very good looking, dynamic buildings. So we're really lucky to have that. But the most fundamental thing is, of course, staff. They're the people that are on the front line. They're the people that are looking after residents. So we have to make sure that we have the right staffing levels and the right skill set and the right mindset in staff. So we have, our values in the business are really integral to the everyday language that we use. Most people do it on the letters of their company, which for Vida Healthcare is VIDA. So we have very important people for our V, and that it means that it's not only the residents, but it's the staff and it's the family and the loved ones. They're all very important people, and that's how we treat each other. Our I is in it together, because we genuinely are in it together. And every single member of staff, whether you are laundry, kitchen, we're all looking after people. We're all there to provide a service and work together to do that. And that's why our training comes in. And we have our Vida Academy, which, just constantly upskills our staff to become the specialists that they actually need to be and have to be. And we create careers for people. And I think that helps because it retains staff, and then you get familiarity. I could go on here, but it's really
please
important.
do. You mentioned about your recruitment and training process, because I think it's vital you have specialist requirements from the staff, and anyone can put somebody in front of a computer, or even classroom based. We're a big advocate of classroom based training. Our training room looks like a bedroom, and we physically train people. The example I always give is, would you trust your taxi driver if he'd learned to got his driving license online? Would you trust him to take you on your journey? And we can train people as much as we want, face to face, online, however that might be. But there is the skill in that process is on the floor, and the skill is grown, isn't it? Is what I'm trying to say. It's not, you don't just learn it in a week and that's that. And no, I think it's really important. You were talking about ongoing training and then support based training as well.
It's massively important, and it's creating a culture that is really accepting and driven to continually challenge, practices and best practices, because, we're dealing with human beings here, and therefore we don't get it right every day, but it's our attitude to learning and adapting and making sure that we can, offer the best service. So, our Vida Academy, we train people in the first sort of induction process, and then, as you rightly say, it's the follow-up that's the most important thing. And I'm really passionate about that bridge from classroom, so if that's the right terminology, to floor. There's no point in sat in a training environment if you if you can't then put it into practice on the floor. So I'm really passionate about that follow-up. Otherwise, it's meaningless. So we've just created a Vida Academy building. So we're just about to open that, because it's always been sort of in and around parts of the care home that we've done our training. But we've just created a sort of a bespoke building that's got, mock-up bedrooms and all sorts of areas that people can do their training, and it's a dedicated base. So, we take it really seriously. And also, I'm a real advocate, on a wider scale, for social care, that it's a career, and it's an aspirational career, and it's an amazing thing to be involved with. And I think sometimes it gets a bad press, and that's part of what I try and do as my sort of wider goal, is to try and promote social care and, get people to look at it in a really positive way. I've got people here that have been with us since we've opened 10 years ago. The registered manager of Vida Court he started with us as an administrator. Now she's a registered manager of an outstanding care home, and it's just, I think that's amazing, to offer career paths, and it's all about valuing people. Oh, I didn't carry on with my values today. So the D is detail, 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 because it's all about that, the small things in life. Whether you like to have the Times delivered to you at 9 a.m. in the morning, that changes people's day. It's familiarity. Yeah. And then the final one, A, is always kind. So that's how we look at our values, and that's what we try and instill in our ethos of care and everything. And it's quite simple, really. It's looking after people in the way that you would expect to be looked after if it was yourself.
I think that's the key to success in operating an outstanding set of care services, which is what you're doing. Yeah. So you said you've got 550 staff. Before we started recording, you said 550 staff, and we're all aware, everybody in this country is very aware of the cost of living crisis and everything. How is it that you've tackled that? Because you told me something that is incredible considering the size of your business. What is it that you said that you'd done?
Before the staff, the cost of living crisis, of course, we had this national staffing crisis, as everyone will have seen. And that was as a result of the pandemic, and there's all sorts of reasons as to why that staffing crisis is happening. Is it Brexit? Is it people affected by the pandemic and retiring early?
It's a combination, isn't it?
I think it's a combination. People being tempted away for higher wages in different sectors, all of these things. So, as I said earlier, our staff are our heartbeat, and we just don't have a service without that. So we effectively put our necks on the line a wee bit and decided that for all of the healthcare staff, we would increase their wages by 30%, which went down quite well, as you might imagine.
Very sure it did, yeah.
And the result of that is that we have a full contingency of staff now. We have a very, very low turnover of staff. I think it was 4% at the last call. So I think the national average is around 30% churn of staff. So we're way below there. And it's not only that; it's the environment and the fact that we look after staff, as many people do, and I fully appreciate that. So that was a bold move that we had to make, and there's obviously, in order to pay for that, we had to put people's fees up. We had to do, and we had to adapt our service, and it was a risk, but it seems to have paid off for us, and I'm quite pleased for us and for staff, because they deserve these levels of salary that we pay, and it's nurses are very difficult to recruit. But if you come and work at Vida Healthcare and you're on a nurse full time, you're on 52,000 quid now. It's a lot of money. So it's really helped.
We've seen with nurse recruitment a demand for higher salary. I have no arguments against nurses and the value that they offer, but it's really good to hear somebody like a nurse with everything they do day to day, earning good money. Still within the NHS, I still hear of some nurses on £13 or £14 an hour, and obviously at a salary higher than that, they're earning a lot more, which is great. So are all of your services in Harrogate, are all in the same area?
Yeah, they're all within 2 miles of each other. Sorry, I'm smiling here because there's a resident just walking past my office and looking in rather interested in what I'm doing. But anyway, that's fine. Yes, they're all in Harrogate. They're all within 2 miles of each other, which shows a demand. just for the service in our area. So
Well,
yes,
I think it's fair
and
to say that the demand that you're supplying locally is a national there is a national demand, and there's certainly not many care homes of your caliber that I talk to. So I think that
well, that's kind of you to say. Sadly, yes, dementia is a growing. I mean, the statistics, it's due to double over the next, by 2050, it's due to have doubled, isn't it, in terms of how many people are living with dementia in our country. There's currently 900,000, and they're shocking statistics, really. So
yes,
we need to look after these people, and we need to urge the government to do further research. There's a lot of research done relatively early stages of dementia, but not sort of the latter stages. So, for every stage of dementia, it needs to be researched. We need to develop, hopefully a cure.
yeah. Well, that would be an amazing day. Hopefully, it comes in our lifetime. That would be
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. Well, there are steps forward. There's been 2 drugs approved that um, have, if I'm not an expert on this, but if caught at an earlier stage and this drug is taken, it's been proven to slow that process down, which is great, because it's a very invasive and difficult process for residents and families to go through when you're diagnosed with dementia.
Of course, yeah. And I can see from your voice that, the way that you're saying it, that you're very passionate about it. And, I can see that you've had that firsthand experience, which, only somebody who's worked at any level in the care sector, would have experienced. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not easy. It's not easy for the families either, and we really, really acknowledge that, and we really try to hold people's hands through this process of, there's sometimes feelings of guilt, feelings of, not being able to cope, and all of those things are totally natural and understandable. But what we try and say to families is, if somebody comes and live with us here, they're coming into an environment that's appropriate. It may even slow that decline down, being in an appropriate environment, and will take away what might be construed for a lot of people as the stressful side of things, and you can therefore focus on the relationship with your loved one and not the stress side of things. That's how we look at it.
no, as I say, I've said it several times, but it's amazing what you're doing. So you mentioned Huntington's disease earlier as well, and about starting to have a bit of a focus,
Yeah,
there as well.
yeah. I mean, we've had over the past sort of 2 or 3 years, we've had a couple of residents that have joined us that are living with Huntington's disease, and therefore we decided that actually we should open up a house that focuses and is dedicated to Huntington's, because again, there's not a service around us that is focused on it solely, and there is a synergy between how some people with Huntington's present and people living with dementia. So the skill set is transferable. And that said, there are things that we're working with the Huntington's Disease Association to adapt our environment so that it is more bespoke and more suitable for people. And also training as well. We're adapting our training for that particular skill set. But as I said, overall, the people do present in a similar way at different stages. So we've just started that journey and opened that house in February.
Don't know what to say, to be honest. I'm just listening and taking it all in.
It's an interesting sort of area, and Huntington's is a genetic illness, and again, it's just my drive is to create an environment to help people's lives be better and in the best environment for every aspect of that individual and their family. That's really why we get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, but I think you've already done that. I think you can tick that off your list and you say that there's only three, and so is there any thoughts in the back of your head of a fourth and a fifth, or
Well,
is that a
I'll never
conversation for next year?
I'll never say never, but it takes me a bit of time to get over a development and then recruiting all the staff and making sure that it's up and running and the building starts to kind of breathe and come to life
Of course.
with the residents. So it takes me a bit of time to kind of. So generally, when I finish a building, it's an absolute no that we'll be doing another one.
Yeah, totally
But
get
but we will watch this space at this moment. We do have an expansion area in this particular building that I'm in at Vida Court. So we could put an extension on that, but I don't think I dare say that out loud yet to the registered manager, but we will see.
it. Okay, all right. Well, unfortunately, we'll be leaving that comment in for your accountability for the for the
Fair enough.
podcast. So,
Fair enough.
no, that's great. Okay, so just lastly, just something slightly different. The Outstanding Society.
Mm.
I just asked the question, and again, it's just I think the name says what it is, but yeah, could you just tell us about that? Because I think that's an incredible
Well,
thing that you've developed.
back in 2016, when we got an outstanding when the new ratings came in, I think we were one of the first homes to get an outstanding, and me and some like-minded operators who had outstanding homes kind of got together, and we're from all over the country. We just got together as via a conference that we all attended, and the purpose of it was to try and sort of share best practice and to scream and shout about social care in a really positive way. In the media, sometimes it gets a negative press. So what we wanted to do is put a positive spin on social care and try and promote it nationally to encourage people to get involved. And over the years, it's really grown. But it's for people that really want to improve services. So that's why, as really, it's a group of 2,000 operators that get together and share good practice, and try and help each other to improve the services. Because we're not really in competition with each other. There's so many people out there that need care that it's important that we work together. And if there's a good idea out there that we can steal from each other, then that's what we'll do. So we promote that, and we have different webinars each month, and different speakers that come in and get involved, and it's working really, really well. In fact, over the past 2 years, it's really, really grown thanks to two of the main directors, which is Zoe and Russell. They've done an amazing job, and now all the other directors have come on board, and we're flying. Really, it's an exciting time for the Outstanding Society.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And yeah, again, something outstanding that you've done. So, James, is there anything else that you'd like to add? Obviously, I would love for people to know how to get hold of you, how to get hold of, Vida Healthcare. What's your web address?
So the web address is www.vidahealthcare.co.uk, and that'll take you to the website. And from there you can get all the information you might need if you want to come and see us or talk to us, or we can offer any advice at any time. Please get in touch.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. And on the YouTube, we'll drop the web address under there. And obviously, if you listen to this on Spotify, then yeah, we've just given the web address out. So look, James, I know your time is very valuable building all of these buildings and these amazing care homes. So appreciate your time to come on, and thank you very much. And I'm sure I will speak to you again in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this interview on Elite Care Conversations. I'd just like to say the only way that we're going to be able to make a difference and reach a wide audience is if people like, comment and share this video. Please feel free to do that. It very much helps the cause of the reason that I've decided to do this. Also, if you enjoyed what we're doing, could you please give us a 5-star review either on Google or on Spotify or on YouTube or whichever platform it is that you are watching this on. If you are watching it on YouTube, please do subscribe for future notifications about the different videos that we're going to be uploading. And thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one.